All right, beautiful human being. So welcome back, Coach Joseph Hawthorne, and I'm excited to do this one, another semi-solo episode. And I say semi-solo because, let's face it, it's me, myself, and I. It's all three of us on here trying to provide you with valuable information, and ultimately we're trying to stop each other. I'm trying to stop my is trying to stop I, and I is trying to stop myself from just grabbing this microphone and beatboxing. Because we're better than average at it, but we're definitely not great. So we want to spare you. But I think that's really what human beings ultimately want. Like when we really think about it, we just want to be better than average. We really do. We want to be slightly better than average in as many things as possible. It's our natural comparative nature. And so that's kind of the stuff that we're going to be talking about today. Now, my goal for you is to be able to understand the three models of behavior and be able to then identify when you're catching yourself in one of these behaviors that is not serving you. That's going to be the key piece, right? The faster we can catch ourselves when we're falling, the better we become at course correcting. And, it's like when my son was first learning how to walk, when he was very, very little, he couldn't catch himself and down he would go. Luckily for them, it's a short journey, right? I think that's why we've been designed the way that we have. And then eventually it became a stumble and you'd, go down. And then eventually it was a stumble, catch himself. And then eventually it was a one-step catch himself. And now it's just like the rest of us, right? Is that you can catch yourself pretty quick. And that's what we want to be able to do when it comes to anything in the nutrition world, fitness world, anything we're trying to ultimately change. And so we're going to talk a lot about language and some tricks that you can use to identify when your language does not match the video that you have for yourself, right? When the audio doesn't match the video, we want to be able to course correct as quickly as possible. Because if you've ever watched when someone is speaking on camera and the audio doesn't match it, oh my gosh, like my brain wants to practically explode. So that's what it's kind of like, for us internally, as we're not aligned, we're not centered, and we want to bring some clarity to that for you today. Now, I do hope you were able to listen to episode 21, the last episode was shot right before this, on the three phases of transformation. And ultimately the reason is it's just something that's not talked about, not even understood across pretty much any nutrition fitness platform that is out there. And especially you see so many programs that are like, do this 30-day thing, do this, cut this for, 7 days, all this stuff. Like clearly they unfortunately don't have this framework and understanding. I didn't always, right? So definitely I'm not judging by any means. That's why I wanted it out there. And so hopefully you're able to now see this and recognize this. And I hope that gives you a framework for everything you do going forward to know that I may be in this excitement phase. I'm starting something new. I'm going to be excited. New job, new career, new diet program. And I'm going to be excited. And this is when I'm going to be basing it on all of these normal external beliefs. The fact that this is going to be the thing for me that changes everything, right? It's external. It's outside of me. It has nothing to do with me yet. And right around the 4 to 6 week mark, I'm going to run into some resistance where I don't want to do it anymore. I'm bored. The newness has worn off, and now the real work begins. But when you have that framework and that understanding, then when you hit that point, sweet. Now we understand it. We can prevent it, or we can move through it. We can recognize it. That's where power begins. Or maybe it's this resistance phase, right? Just doing a quick recap because it's so valuable. Maybe you reach this place where you've lost the weight and you constantly end up sabotaging and you're wondering, why do I do this? And you're realizing, you know what? It's because I'm so terrified of losing the identity that I've only ever known, this person that I embody. Because without this person, this shield that I have, will I lose my friends? Will I then still have to work through some of this depression or this anxiety that tends to show up in my life, because I've been saying that it's based because of the weight or if it's because of XYZ. And without that, shit, that means there's something wrong with me. That's the story that likes to surface up inside of our heads. And it's not true. It's definitely not true. And if we can recognize that it's a story you've been telling yourself and this resistance is going to happen, then we can start to implement some of the tools that we'll be sharing in future episodes to be able to work through that as quickly as possible. And I do say through, that is really the only way, right? The best way is through. So today, let's dive into the three models of behavior, all right? So 3 models. First one, acquisition. Second one, behavior. Third one, identity. And they are as exactly as they sound. The acquisition model is one where you are trying to acquire things first. It's still a very much external driven belief. Let's think about what you chase runs, right? My 3-year-old loves for me to chase him. Why? Because he wants to run. He wants to run after me. It's fun, right? Or vice versa. He wants me to run after him. And I let him catch me. But ultimately, if we're trying to do this with life, if we're trying to do this with weight, it's going to continue to run from us. It's like creating this unconscious narrative of, I'll be happy when I reach this specific outcome, right? And it's very much a fixed mindset focus instead of a growth mindset focused. And it's just that we've conditioned our minds to do this order when it comes to the acquisition model. It's have, do, and then be. Or in other words, having, then doing, then becoming, right? And it's our internal process that we believe we need to first have something before we can do the things that we want to do to eventually be who it is we want to be, right? We believe that the acquisition first is going to solve all of these problems. So let's give you some examples, right? It's like I need to have money to do marketing to be successful. Or in most people's cases that are listening to this show and that I work with, it's this belief that I need to, or I must have a personal trainer to work out, to lose the weight, to be happy and confident. So notice like success, confidence, happiness. These are states of being. And states of being are very subjective. They're individualized. What you believe is successful is going to be very different than what I believe is successful. What you believe to exist as happiness is very different than what I believe happiness is. And that's kind of the beauty, is that when we can identify and ultimately define these terms for ourselves, then we can start to become those things first, right? So the being is really a feeling that we've associated with the original having. Like those two do associate together. And it's we just have it backwards, that we believe we have to have this thing first. It's our delayed gratification model ultimately, right? But it's done in an unhealthy and unproductive way. And we have tied that happiness to our state of being. So we're denying ourselves from allowing that happiness or success to ever even occur, because we're using it as a defense until we have that other thing first. You see how we're pretty much making an excuse when we catch ourselves saying, I would, but I have to do this first, right? And so often if we say, I have to, right, or I need to, we can identify this and we can catch this within our own language, and then we can start to shift the language to I get to. You see, if I say I have to go work out, that doesn't feel very motivating. That doesn't feel very inspiring, right? And the mind speaks in terms of language, right? But the body speaks in terms of feeling. The body is going to provide you much more resistance or momentum than anything else. And if you're saying I have to, the chances of you following through are pretty darn low, at least for very long. If you're saying I get to, because I get to is permission. You have given yourself permission. And we as humans, we love to get permission, especially when it's from ourselves. So I get to is the simple language hack that is going to allow you some power to actually step through and make the right choices, because you're going to get to work out today. And ultimately, then what you're doing is what I call a feeling exchange. You're exchanging the feeling of right now, which I don't want to work out. Who does, right? Not many. For the feeling that I want to have tonight when I go to bed. Now that's called delayed gratification at its finest. I'm delaying how I feel now for how I want to feel later, for how I want to feel tomorrow, for how I want to feel 5 years from now, because I get to work out. And ultimately, if I get to work out, that's what it's going to elicit for me, even 5 years from now. Now that has power. That simple little hack, that simple little switch is powerful, because let's look at how silly this can sound when we put it in the right perspective. I can't enjoy time with my kids until I have a house with a swimming pool that lets me do fun things like barbecues and parties. So you are not going to allow yourself to enjoy your children until you have this house so that you can do these barbecue parties. But ultimately, that's what we're saying to ourselves when it comes to weight loss. We've made this excuse that we've got to have something first. Silly and frustrating. And it's not your fault. Like, let's be clear about that. This comes from years of conditioning. And it's really just like a model of achievement equaling happiness since we were kids that we've kind of adopted. Meaning like things that you heard growing up. Money doesn't grow on trees. You have to grind and work extremely hard to be successful. Put your head down. Big boys don't cry. You are just big boned. We're all big and hefty in this family. It's our genes. Like all these things like have embodied inside your subconscious beliefs. And so it's easy for us to want to remain external by putting the having first. And ultimately that's just to blame outside of ourselves, to not take ownership for the situation. But hey, without awareness, without the knowledge first, you didn't have any knowledge of it. So show yourself some appreciation and some love for the fact that you didn't know. And there's nothing wrong with that. We don't fault a child for not knowing something. We just teach them. And we're all that way with everything. I'm constantly that way with new things on the daily. New levels, new devils, my friends. We are always learning, adapting, growing. We are always going to be stumbling and sabotaging. Again, it's just how quick can we recover from that stumble? And then the next time it's going to be better and better and better until we do something completely outside of our comfort zone, and then it starts the process again. So we kind of recognize this, right? And we start to then hit this place where we're like, all right, so I'm not going to push myself to the curb and say like I have to do this first in order to do this thing, in order to become this thing. And that's where for most people they hit this almost like rock bottom or this wake up call or this level of disgust, and those things are powerful. And they start then with the second of our three models, the behavior model. They put their behavior first at this part in time, which means they put the doing first. So it becomes do, have, be, or doing, having, being. And this can work extremely well for a while, right? We move our blame out of the way for not being successful, and we just jump straight into the doing. And this is when, like so often, people just sign up for a gym membership, start working out to have the body that they want, right? We start working on that business just right away in order to have the money. Instead of saying, I have to have the money to do the marketing, to start the business. We flipped it. And it's powerful because it allows us. We're going to nope, I'm just going to start doing what I need to do, and then I'll be able to have what it needs, and then I'll become what it needs to have. There are hundreds of thousands of testimonials from so many different industries and so many different things of people who have made this simple shift in thinking. And it's helped, right? Because they're putting action first now. And action ultimately precedes motivation. People tend to say like, oh, I just need to find some motivation. I need to get motivated. Yeah, you're not going to get it. You're not going to find it. What you chase runs, bringing it back all the way until you put the action first. You ever notice like once you take some action, once you gain some momentum, then you actually feel motivated because you're feeling the effects of it, right? Like once you lose a pound, now you've got some motivation. Oh shit, this actually works. Oh snap. My hard effort, my doing first is working. And this can work extremely, extremely well, right? But you know what ends up happening for a lot of people is they dive into the doing, they're working extremely hard, and then they meet that level of resistance. Going back to our 3 phases of transformation from the last podcast episode. And it's this fear of who would I have to become? And, for a lot of people, it's the fact that they don't have a deep internal why, a level of mission driving them that gets them through the struggles, the frustrations, and all the pieces that come with that level of resistance and that fear. And ultimately, if it is just about who we want to become, the people that are the most successful are the people who focus on what I call identity first, our last model. Because that's all that matters to you, right? Is who you become, is who you are. Maya Angelou said, people will forget what you say, they'll forget what you do, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. Well, let's look at that. Forget what you say, have. Forget what you do, literally do. Never forget how you made them feel, be. And so we have to put the being first. because that's all we are going to remember at the end of our lifespan, is who we have been as a human being this entire time. So we have to be able to identify what success is, what happiness is, what fulfillment is, what power is, what pride is. These are insanely powerful things for us. And we need to start by just embodying that, by just being that now. So when you ask yourself, well, who do you want to become? Well, I want to become the type of person that is healthy and confident and lean and strong. Great. Start being that. Well, if I start being that right now in this moment, what does that mean? It means that I work out fairly consistently. It means that I choose to eat the vegetables and lean protein as opposed to heading to the drive-thru for the fried food. Great. What is that going to allow you to do and ultimately have? And that's the results of a lean body. So I just want you to look at where you're at right now and recognize that it starts from just being in that place. If you were to be that person right now, right? If you were to be that successful, rich entrepreneur, if you were to be that fit, healthy person, what would that look like? What would that feel like? And then just start doing those things that follow suit as you start to already shift your mindset that you already are there. That's the difference between being first and doing first. Is being first, you already believe you are there. And it's going to be hard because you have 80,000 thoughts per day, and most of them, about 80+%, are recycled thoughts from the day before, the day before, the day before. Because our brains want to conserve energy, so it's going to think the same thoughts, do the same things. And what I want you to focus on is that you're just starting to be that person now. You are that person. I am this healthy, strong, fit, confident person. This is who I am. I am this person who eats this way. I am this person who works out. The doing will follow, and the results, the have, will follow suit even further. And so I just want you to catch your language for now. For now, we're going to expand upon this, but I don't want this episode to run too long. But I just want you to simply catch your language where you keep saying, we all do it, my friends, myself included, right? I've just become extremely aware of it to try and catch myself as fast as possible and dive in, and to be able to say, oh, I was saying I have to do this, or I want, or I need. That's just delaying the actions that you actually have to take. But if you say I am, if you say I'm being, and just start becoming it, the rest is going to follow. And it's not going to be easy, but it is going to happen. So that's where I want to challenge you today, is how can you be the person that you deserve to be? All right, my friends. Coach Joseph Hawthorne. Peace be the journey. All right, my friends, thanks for listening. That was awesome. Hopefully you got some great takeaways. And if you did, I know there's someone else that needs them as well. Please do me a favor and just share it with them. Whether it's screenshotting and shooting it over via text or tagging me on social media, whatever is helpful to spread this to the person that is going to get the right takeaway at that right time in their life. And we continue together to make big impact. Other thing I got to ask for is if you wouldn't mind heading over to iTunes and leaving a 5-star review, that would be incredible. Forever grateful. And, none of us like asking for stuff. Well, at least most of us don't like asking for stuff, but it's a part of human nature. And who would I be if I didn't have the courage to ask you to do that, right? And it's just a demonstration of being able to continue to honor my word and the work that I'm doing for all of you guys. So hopefully this helps, and head on over, do those things. Last thing is, if you need anything, nutrition coaching, guidance, just let me know. Reach out. Joseph@truthoftransformation.com. Here for you.